Welcome to the Future of Surrogacy, the podcast that explores the people, the innovations, and the ideas building the next generation of surrogacy. Today's guest is Julie Egor of Predoc, a company focused on one of the most persistent and costly pain points in surrogacy, medical records. For as long as surrogacy has existed, collecting medical records has been slow, expensive, and fragmented, and largely manual. Agencies spend weeks tracking down records from multiple providers, reviewing hundreds of pages, and coordinating across clinics and states, all while timelines matter and decisions carry real risk. Formerly known as ME-MR, the company rebranded as its mission became clearer: to bring structure, speed, and reliability to medical records using technology and AI to support better human decision-making, not to replace it. And they work with lots of well-known surrogacy agencies like Alcea. Julie understands the complexity of medical records from the inside, and she also has her very own personal surrogacy story, which she will share with us today. We'll talk about why Predoc rebranded, how the platform actually works for surrogacy agencies, common misconceptions about AI and medical records, and where Julie sees the category going next. So, with that, welcome to the future of surrogacy, Julie.
Thanks for having me.
I am excited to talk to you today. And I know a lot of people that listen to the show probably already know who you are because you were a speaker at the last Seeds conference. But for the people that don't know, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role with Predoc?
Yeah. So my name is Julie Egor. My role focuses on bringing new customers into the fold, then supporting them once they're live, making sure the platform is working for them and supporting them essentially.
And you work with surrogacy agencies.
Yes. Yeah, I do. Before Predoc, I spent a lot of years close to healthcare and had to retrieve medical records for patients. So kind of drew me to this company in general because of how broken medical records are and the process of retrieving them still are.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody that's listening that is ever had any responsibility for medical records is like, oh my gosh, she gets us. She sees
Ugh,
us.
it's the worst. I definitely get you.
Okay, but before we get into Predoc, because I've got a whole bunch of questions about Predoc and how it works, can we talk a little bit about your family building journey?
Yeah. So I have a very personal connection to surrogacy. I know that you know this, but it's why this work matters so much to me. But I was born through an egg donor and surrogate, and I didn't find out any of that until I was about 30. It was like a month after my wedding. My mom and me are very close. We talk multiple times a day about everything. So learning that everyone at the wedding over a certain age knew this about me was really, really hard to find out.
Was that coincidental timing between your wedding and finding out, or was that kind of like preempted because of all the people that were going to be in the room?
It was actually really a surprise. My half brother reached out to me on Facebook and had been looking for me for a couple of years, and I was ignoring because I thought it was spam essentially. But finally reached out to people close to me and other networks who reached out to me saying, I think this might be for real. And it just was a coincidence that the timing was kind of right around there. I'm very happy it was the month after my wedding, not the month before it. But yes, crazy.
Yeah. And I know you feel strongly about how open people are with their you and I have talked about this because with, me raising two kiddos that came to our family through adoption,
Yes.
same thing. I always want to be able to answer their questions openly and honestly about where they come from.
Yeah, it's super, super important. And there's, a lot of stuff that I wish I had known earlier on that I think would have helped me as I was growing into a person. So I'm like a big advocate of telling as soon as you can.
Yeah. And you have some kiddos that you're raising.
Yeah, yes. Oh my gosh. I have identical twin girls. They just turned 2 a few months ago. So parenting like really changes your perspective on life.
It sure does. And maybe at the end of this podcast, you can tell everybody what under eye concealer you use because for raising twin 2-year-olds, you don't look tired enough.
I am tired, so I'm glad I don't look tired, but oh my god, I'm tired. They put me through the ringer. One is like this way, one is the other way. It's just a constant chaos, but I do love it. But they were a surprise as well. I was not anticipating twins, so it was
Yeah.
quite a happy surprise.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I know. No, I really, I mean, I love it, but yeah, the first year, I swear, I blacked out. I have no idea how I was doing feedings every 3 hours for two babies. It's a miracle, but I did it somehow, and we're here alive. So,
Yeah. I know, I still remember looking at my sister's face the first time that she had, like, the 2 babies on the boppy
yeah,
pillow,
yeah,
and
the twin Z pillow that I highly recommend
yes.
for any twin parents. Yeah.
Yeah, and she had I mean, her boobs were, like, enormous, which she never had, she just looked so defeated.
That's My mom visited us recently, and she's, like, very type A clean and was just like, "My god," about all the toys and everything, and she only had me, so I was like, "Mom, having 2 kids the same age at once is you can't keep up with the mess. I'm constantly running after them," but she's finally accepted it and accepted our fate that we have to just kind of roll with it at this age, and we'll get there eventually.
It will be clean one day.
I
Yeah.
I hope so because it's driving me nuts too.
Okay, let's jump over to the Predoc side of the house. So, the rebrand happened earlier this year. You were Myanmar, and now you're Predoc.
Yes, that's true. So we actually started as a patient-facing app, which is kind of where the Me MR came, like short from almost my medical records.
Got it.
Um, but kind of
Nice.
as we grew, we realized like there was a better position for us in care delivery and clinical research, and realized that not only access to records was a problem, but like analyzing them and figuring out what to do with them. So that's where the rebrand came from.
Yeah. Okay, and the name Predoc, is it mean like pre-doctor?
It's a play on like a pre-chart that a doctor does. So we're
Okay.
doing the work before a clinician ever sees a patient with finding records and organizing them. So kind of once we landed on that, it clicked for us.
Okay, super cool. Rebrands are no joke, but
I
anything that has that surprised you in that process?
I think like the funniest thing is how confused people were by our old name and like how much clarity a name triplet can bring. Even when
Yes.
I was interviewing, I was a little unsure about the name, so it was validating to realize other people also were struggling with it. So I think the rebrand made conversations easier and made it more clear kind of what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. So Predoc enters the surrogacy space because I remember talking to somebody else on your team that surrogacy wasn't like, oh, here's the niche that we're gonna
Yes.
hit. It was kind of a not stumbled into because it was probably more intentional than that.
Yeah, I think, we started with care delivery and clinical research, but when I joined, obviously fertility was something that was starting within the company, but our chief clinical officer, Priya, has a personal connection to the fertility world. She went through in vitro. So we kind of both realized how critical the medical record need is in the space and how overlooked it is. So we converged everything we learned from the other two areas and then came into the surrogacy world. We kept hearing agencies say records take 30 to 45 days to get back, which is insane and it truly was shocking, especially knowing how time sensitive the process is with screening. So we felt like that we could improve it.
Okay, so let's dive into it because there's still a lot of companies that do it the quote unquote old fashioned way, like manual,
Yeah.
and then there's Gather that exists also in the space. Okay, so people were doing it kind of the old fashioned way, and there's still a lot of people that do it manually.
Yeah, a majority of people are still doing it manually in this industry. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know you have also evolved your technology from when you first launched.
Yeah.
And so what are the emotional characteristics that Predoc can give as a gift to these people that are doing this manual record retrieval? Because when I was running a brand consulting firm,
Okay.
people would come to us and we'd be sitting at the conference room table and they'd say, "We want a logo." And you're like, "Well, do you want a logo or do you want to be better known, understood, and different?" So people don't want medical records. They want confidence or a surety that they are passing somebody along that is actually qualified. And so people that were doing medical records manually feel like if they're doing it manually, they're going to have that peace of mind. And I know there has been a little bit of friction in terms of, well, can you really use technology to do this? What if technology provides the wrong information? And so I guess the bigger question is like, if we know that surrogacy agency medical records staff want confidence, is Predoc delivering that?
Yeah, yeah, and I definitely can answer some emotional context of the value, but there's a lot of like misconception around how AI is being used. A
Yes.
lot of people think it's replacing clinicians completely, which truthfully isn't how we use it at all. AI is supporting humans here. It really helps with indexing, structuring, and surfacing information from records. But the clinical judgment, we want always to stay with people. We believe the human touch is still an essential part of care delivery. So it's not replacing humans, but it's really meant to help provide a complete picture, which translates to have more individualized care for patients and in general, better care. So it's consistently easier to review everything, and it adds a second layer of review, which reduces risk for agencies. I think one of the biggest like relief or value would be like the speed, but also clarity, and there would be like fewer late stage surprises for a surrogate or the agency. We really like try to aim to reduce turnaround time and like cut time to match.
Yeah. Okay. Can you just walk us through step by step? So I run a surrogacy agency. I'm in charge of medical records, and I'm a new Predoc client. Like, how does it work?
Yes. So it's very straightforward, honestly. And a team member from an agency would submit a request in our platform just with basic patient demographics, where the records are needed from, and then assign consent. And then from there, we take everything over. Operations team will handle outreach, follow ups, and resolution. Your team is kept in the loop, but not chasing records. And then once records are retrieved, they're uploaded to our platform for viewing or download, along with something we call a face sheet that summarizes the key medical criteria to support faster, more consistent review of the candidate.
Okay, so I'm a surrogate. And so here's my name, my date of birth, and here are the three babies I've had at these three different hospitals. And your team will go out and contact those hospitals, systems,
Yeah.
HIE, whatever it is.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
Okay. And then you'll pull them and you will go through and filter all that information on behalf of what I've told you is important to us to know, or you have created a universal standard for what every agency and clinic need.
Yeah. So we have a template right now that works for surrogacy that has kind of the standard questions that we've found asked repeatedly with agencies, but it is still fully customizable. So we're happy to work with you essentially to find the things that you are looking for. We can order it however you'd like. If you like certain things up front that are automatic disqualifiers, it's a really cool tool that is custom to you.
Yeah, because we've also heard like agencies want to organize by pregnancy.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a big one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so we know the manual way takes 45 plus days. What's the time frame for you all?
Yeah, in the surrogacy space, this is like a very safe number. I'm saying like under 10 days, but it's often much faster than that. I usually would say closer to 4 to 5, but under 10 is like a safe answer.
And then what's the pushback on that? So outside of cost, like if I am in a surrogacy agency and I have somebody on staff that I've been paying to do this, and they have time, why I can understand a cost debate in terms of why would I pay somebody else to do this when I have somebody that's doing it well? The reduction of timing is pretty compelling. But if I don't have somebody and I have the money to do it, why wouldn't I be using Predoc?
Yeah. Truthfully, what we found it's usually a cost thing, or they don't know that the service is even available. It's, there is like some competitors out there, but there's not a strong focus in surrogacy. So I think oftentimes agencies don't realize that we're able to find everything they are looking for and can take it off of their plate.
Yeah, we talked to a lot of agencies just in terms of like where are the gaps? And some of the ones that we heard were around like if somebody had a home birth, how do we and that's not something that anyone could ever go find those medical records on or unless you like actually can contact whomever set up the hot tub
Yeah.
in your living room. So that's not a dig against a pre-doc as much as it's just like there are going to be some records that are just going to have to be collected manually to get the full 360-degree view of certain candidates.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely true. We do offer access to HIE data for anyone that has an MPI on their staff, and that wouldn't require a specific facility name or provider name. They would just pull everything we had for the patient. So that is an avenue to give you a provider roadmap in that sense.
Will you talk about that a little bit more? Because some people might not know what an HIE is. They might not know what an NPI is.
Yes. NPI is basically a number associated with either like a provider that you would have on staff. So either a clinician and or like an MP, for example. They are allowed to pull into something called a health information exchange, where they can pull records from patients on their behalf if they're going to be seeing them. So that we're just following kind of legal protocol there. We can only access that if we have that MPI number for someone, but that's a nice way to kind of get a broad picture as well. The one thing with HIE data is oftentimes you don't know what you're going to get back. So for me, it could be thousands of pages, but my husband, it could be nothing essentially because he's only seen doctors that have handwritten notes, for example, and it's not anywhere electronic. So that's where we offer the next level of service, which is previous provider retrievals, where our team follows up manually and gets records.
Okay, so if records come back and they're, for the most part, blank or they're missing critical information, then your team will go out and retrieve them manually?
Yeah, yes, exactly. Where I think that kind of sets us apart from competitors in that sense. Where we'll go kind of the full mile to get everything you need.
Yeah, that's great. And then for people that don't know what a health information exchange is, it's basically just a database that when you go to the doctor and people are like typing on a computer, like that information goes into a giant database that if that hospital provider belongs to a system that contributes information to this giant database, that's what a health information exchange is.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. But what about if you have a social worker on staff or a nurse on staff? Because they would have NPI numbers, wouldn't they?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, it's funny. I was a social worker, and I don't think we had an MPI number. I can't remember when I registered. It's been a long time, but a nurse would.
Yeah, maybe like a clinical social worker probably
Yeah, I
would.
think clinical. Yeah, potentially would have an MPI. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's a big advantage, I think, for agencies because I know a lot of them do have somebody on staff or they contract with
you know,
somebody.
right. Yeah, the contract.
You can make the medical records through Predoc even more robust that way.
Yeah, which would be great. We also offer imaging and prescription data, which is also like very helpful for a complete picture.
Let me back up because I've got one more question then about because what you said about the having access to the HIE, one of the HIEs is or that health information exchange. What's the level of human coverage that those HIEs provide, just in terms of medical records? Is it 20% of the population we can pull, 40% of the population, 60% of the population? Do you know that answer?
Yeah, I would say, like, truthfully, like, closer to, like, 50%, or, like, less even. It really depends, like, on a lot of demographics, like area or, like, different things, but
Okay, so and I would imagine that those like if you're in a more urban setting, it's easier to pull records versus if you're in a more rural setting, you might not be part of one of those, or do I just have that backwards?
yeah, I think that that's definitely something that comes into play. Just, yeah, it depends on what access to, facilities you have and what they're
Yeah.
using, which
Okay.
usually, yeah, does differ a lot dependent on rural versus urban.
Yeah. Okay, I'm curious just kind of broad strokes about surrogacy when you are at a staff meeting at Predoc and people are like, are there things that make pulling medical records in surrogacy different than pulling medical records in one of the other fields that you are active in?
Yes, I definitely think, like, the biggest thing that makes them different or more complex is kind of the breadth of records. You really require the complete picture, so prior pregnancies, deliveries, imaging, handwritten notes, records from multiple facilities across the states. There's no margin for missing it, and I think that's what makes it so difficult.
And then what about like labs and any kind of like psych or mental health eval?
Yeah, we are able to retrieve both of those. Yeah, and I think it's actually really important. I personally like had issues with this from my surrogate experience, so it's very important to find everything. Essentially, it can have real consequences. I was diagnosed with temporal lobe epilepsy in my 20s, and I think if I had known earlier, it could have helped with the process of medication and figuring everything out. But it started in my teens and I started like it feels almost like deja vu. I would get this feeling like I've already talked to you and done this with you and like freeze up for a couple of seconds. It really
Interesting.
freaked me out. And we went to doctor after doctor. And basically, I was a teen girl. Everyone blew me off, truthfully. And it like got worse. And then I finally found a doctor who took it seriously. And they were like, these are telltale signs of temporal lobe epilepsy. And they were like, does this run in your family? And at the time, I had no idea any of that. So when that first started happening, like knowing my surrogate mother's records would have been helpful.
Hugely. And this is such a good segue into the next category of questions that I have, which is about I know people have, and I want to legitimize them because I think we can all see how this goes wrong, but
Yeah,
I am a pathologically positive person. And so I get super excited about the opportunity that AI in healthcare provides. Like, just your own example, if doctors, when you were a teenager, had access to a database of symptoms where we weren't relying on just their brain to
I know.
remember what the potential outcomes were versus being able to put symptoms into a database and see all the potential and then start kind of whittling away at those options,
Yeah,
versus you going to doctor to doctor to doctor to doctor until you found one that was like, "Oh,
I
I know
know.
what this is."
I know it would be huge.
It's so huge. So, like, I get so crazy geeky about, like, the possibilities of AI in these particular industries as if humans bend the right way in terms of using AI for good.
True.
But I'm sure you have fought this in terms of, being AI company in healthcare. So, like, what are the biggest misperceptions or misconceptions that you have to fight against?
I think it just people think that AI is replacing a clinician, and they're concerned about the accuracy level of it, or that it's not pulling everything truthfully. It's more accurate than I think a human. Honestly, it's like 97% model specifically. I think that's the biggest misconception. In general, I think people have a lot of mistrust in AI because of that, especially older generations. But I think it can be used, just like you said, for good, and make a process more efficient.
Yeah. Hallucinating is one of the things that people get nervous about with AI. And, like, in pulling medical records, there's no hallucinations even possible,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
like, all like, what Predoc the massive service that Predoc is offering is this ability to go out and collect the records and then filter the records according to what agencies and clinicians need.
Yes.
But
Exactly.
it's not making information up as much as it is just like a very robust gathering and filtering service.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. We provide a page number for you to like see exactly where we found it in the record, and see where it was pulled from. But yeah, it's essentially pulling out pieces of information to make it easier for you.
And I know you said cost was one of the reasons that agencies wouldn't use it. So how does the pricing or the cost structure work?
So our pricing model working with agencies, we felt it should be per patient, so that way you really pay when you use the service essentially for the patient. So it's per patient pricing, and that includes all of their records and then the face sheet on top of that as well.
So is there like a ballpark? Is there a monthly fee? Or how does the pricing work?
Yeah, so it's usually around 375 a patient, but we do volume-based tiers and are kind of willing to work with agencies because we really do wanna help. It's considerably cheaper than some other options.
Okay, and there's no monthly fee that you're paying. As you need it, you pay for it.
Yeah, we do require a contract just to make sure that we're, working together, but yes, essentially, it's kind of a use-based model.
Yeah. Okay. And then what about integrations? Are you integrating? Because I know, so the work that we're doing at Simbi, we're seeing just the variety pack of different CRMs and journey management systems that
Yeah,
all
yeah.
these agencies are on. And so are you PDFing the face sheet and here's a link to a Google Drive, or are you integrating with different CRMs, or how does the kind of the transfer of information happen?
Yeah, so we have 2 avenues. We have our standalone platform. So a lot of agencies that are smaller or more boutique use that service and then manually download everything that they need, document-wise, and yes, they would be PDFs in that case. But we also offer API integration. So if that's something like an agency is interested in, we're definitely willing to work with you on that, but it's another avenue as well.
That's great. And can people try it out? Can we just use it for one surrogate? Or is it like, no, there's because there's a bunch of onboarding that has to happen? Or
Yeah.
how does that work?
Yeah, no, good question. We actually really love to offer a risk-free pilot for our clients in general. So we offer a one-patient pilot for you to put a patient in, see what comes back, get a feel for the service, and then decide from there. But we really believe you'll like it and it will make a difference. So we have not had any negative feedback from that.
Yeah, okay, that's great. Okay, where is Predoc going next? Like, that's when you're looking ahead, what are you excited about?
Yeah, we kind of have a lot coming up. There's even been a lot of changes this past year, but we're heading towards becoming the infrastructure that prepares medical records for clinical decision making. While we're continuing to reduce retrieval time, a big focus for 2026 is what happens after those records arrive. So in the next phase, I'm especially looking towards 2026, like leveraging the AIs to extract the most important information and have clinicians spend less time reading and more time actually deciding, shrinking the time to review, but our mission is to protect the quality time and deliver clearer, more reliable inputs. So that kind of translates in our world as updates to our face sheet, updates to our tech, just providing a more robust summary for people.
You know what's one of the things that I also when we were doing a bunch of research on medical records that I thought was really interesting, and I don't know what the opportunity is, but I know there is an opportunity here, is that agencies would serve as the first line of defense in terms of viewing medical records to make sure there weren't any major red flags.
Hmm.
But then they're packaging up those medical records and sending them to the clinic.
Yes, they
And then
are.
at least one person, if not multiple people, are looking at the same medical records then at the clinic. And for obvious reasons, I love how diligent that process is. But I'm also like, gosh, like that's a lot of time that people are looking at the same medical records. So I know there's an opportunity there for some level of efficiency while maintaining incredibly high standards in terms of medical records review, but I don't know what the opportunity is just yet.
I know. Yeah. I mean, there definitely is an opportunity there. And yeah, I mean, our face sheet tool is to aim to help speed up that process and take a load off of some of those people reviewing all of those records. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity for one of these medical records organizations to emerge as like the gold star. Like when you see, here's the face sheet from Gold Star Company that you can actually spend less time doing the second review because you know that it has been done so well. But
Yeah, that would be ideal, and that's what we're working towards, with improvements to that technology.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so if surrogacy agencies were able to take one thing away from this conversation, and this is different than the magic wand question because I'm going to ask you that one too. But if any surrogacy agency listening took one thing away from this conversation, what would you want it to be?
I just want them to know that we know surrogacy is not elective like admin work. It's real healthcare with lifelong implications. I obviously personally know that, but our team knows that, and I think that's important in the space.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that it's not because I think, I mean, all technology in the surrogacy space has felt this at some point when they entered the space is that the space is naturally skeptical and not necessarily trying to poke holes, but again, like they're trying to be so diligent in terms of vetting new technologies in this space. And so it's hard to not feel a little bit defensive when you're the new technology coming into a particular space that is so heartfelt and human.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think there's a lot of caring people in the surrogacy world, and they really care about the outcomes and the people that they're caring for and making a big difference in these people's lives.
Okay. So I don't know if you've listened to our podcast, but we ask everybody the same question at the very end of the podcast. We call it the magic wand. And so I'm going to give you, Julie, a magic wand, and you're going to be able to change one thing about how medical records happen in surrogacy. So,
I know the answer already.
what is it?
I would change the mindset around continuity of care, essentially. Surrogacy is not under that umbrella of like continuity of care, like care delivery. So their requests for records often get pushed to the side, like put to the bottom of the pile very often. And I strongly believe it is a continuity of care situation. These records affect safety outcomes and can identify, a lot of things. Treating them as foundational, not optional, would change everything. So that drives me nuts.
Wait, I'm so curious. They get pushed to the bottom of the stack by whom?
Like admin, whoever may be at these facilities, it's just
Ooh.
like it's considered a different level of care, essentially, and it's deemed not as basically important when I believe it should be.
Wow, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, that's why
Okay,
people have a lot of trouble, retrieving records.
that's why those timelines are so
Yeah,
long.
it's crazy, but that is why, because they don't value it as, continuative care for a patient.
Well, I think this has been really helpful. Great refresher on the new Predoc.
Yeah.
Did you get any cool swag with the rebrand? I love new rebrand swag.
Oh my god, yes, we did, and it was, very exciting. Got some nice sweatshirts, a nice water bottle that my girls, think is theirs now, but it is
Course.
mine. But yeah, very nice to get some stuff. It was exciting to be a part of it.
Okay, cool. And if people want to reach out because they want to take you up on that, the free trial or the one record retrieval that you offer people, who do they reach out to? You?
Yeah, they can reach out to me, Julie at predoc, .ai, or you can find me on LinkedIn and send me a message there. But happy to, meet with you. And even if you just want to talk more about the service and get a better understanding, I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julie, for being here.
Yeah, oh my God. Thanks for having me. It was so nice to see you.
Thanks so much for listening to The Future of Surrogacy. If you liked today's episode, send it to a friend or a colleague that should hear it. And be sure to follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn to keep up with new episodes and behind the scenes updates. And if there's a topic you want us to cover or someone you think we should talk to, reach out. We'd love to hear from you. We'll see you next time.